Time for Decision 2024. Our conversation continues tonight with three people who want to be your next governor. This week, our Dustin Grove has been taking your questions to the candidates.
And tonight is the topic that is the most divisive of all.
In our election survey, we asked what you think is the single most important issue right now. And the majority of you told us it's abortion. Now, we want to be clear, we didn't ask which side of the debate you're on. But I want to show you the results from Ball State University's most recent annual Hoosier survey. 31% said abortion should be legal in most cases. 28% believe it should be legal in all cases. Meanwhile, 27% think it should be illegal in most cases, and about 10% think it should be completely illegal in all cases. Right now, abortion is banned in Indiana with a few exceptions. Those include cases of rape or incest, to protect the life and physical health of the mother, and if a fetus is diagnosed with a lethal anomaly. We asked each candidate for governor about it. Here's part of our conversation. Are you satisfied with the law as it is today?
So it was returned to the states. That made sense. You're going to have 50 different viewpoints on it. I think that should have been resolved at the state level from the get-go. You're going to have one extreme position with no restrictions. I don't think that kind of dovetails with most Americans. That's the other side of the aisle. And then our side is going to generally be for something with reasonable exceptions. I think the law is the law. It's been out there. We were the first state to come up with it. We are a pro-life state. That doesn't mean that you get it right out of the gate. But for me, one that believes in the sanctity of life, it is the law.
We need a governor who will fight to restore reproductive rights and freedoms that were taken away from women. You know, our ban in Indiana is very extreme. You know, I trust women. I trust our physicians. Abortion is complex and it's got a lot of emotions, but women need to be able to make that decision about their health care with their own faith, their own, physicians, and then those they deem who they want to bring into that circle. It's complex, but it's healthcare. I mean, it's simple. It's healthcare.
I am a pro-life libertarian, and I believe that the current law needs to go through first of all, the legal process. I think we should be constantly reviewing all of our statutes.
You can read more of what they all told me online. We've got it posted to WTHR.com. The Marion County Board of Elections is preparing to get absentee ballots in the mail to voters.
Workers are handling those last-minute preparations right now, and our Karen Campbell got a chance to see them in action this afternoon.
And you learned, Karen, there are thousands of voters waiting for these.
Yeah, thousands, more than 10,000 absentee ballots will be mailed to voters, of course, here in Marion County. And for those wondering how your ballot will stay safe and secure, well, the Marion County Clerk says they have you covered. Workers at the Marion County Board of Elections scanning every absentee ballot, getting everything ready to go.
And we're going to mail them out on Friday.
Marion County Clerk Kate Sweeney Bell says thousands of ballots will hit mailboxes next week.
The last check that I did, 10,700 ballots will be mailed, perhaps even more on Friday.
And making sure those ballots stay safe and secure.
Bipartisan teams go through with every ballot that we print to make sure that there are 2 initials on it, and if there aren't, if somebody missed one, it'll kick it out. So a voter will not get a ballot without the required second set of initials.
There's even a barcode on each envelope
that allows us to track it through the post office. So if somebody asked for a ballot and it got approved and it was mailed out and they've been waiting for a week and a half, they can call us and we will track it down for them.
Down to which mail carrier collected it, the route it traveled, the day, and even the time. Carefully monitoring each ballot with a tracking system in place. And when it comes time to mail in your ballot,
if their ballot is damaged or lost, we keep track of this. Nobody gets 2 bites at the apple. You only get to vote once. But we've got processes in place that would cancel that out.
Another layer of safety to keep every ballot properly accounted for. Sweeney says make sure you don't forget the little things.
We encourage anyone who has moved or changed their name to confirm their voter registration
before voter registration closes on October 7th. And Sweeney Bell tells us that there are more than 642,000 registered voters in Marion County. So just a reminder that early voting starts October the 8th. And we know that Election Day is creeping up very, very fast, just almost 1 month later.
Yeah, inside 2 months now.
Yeah, that's right.
Karen, thank you.
Okay.
As we count down to Election Day, we want you to be informed. And to help you, 13 News is sitting down with the candidates that are hoping to hold some of the biggest offices in the state of Indiana. These are candidates that could have a major impact on our lives.
So tonight, the two candidates running for U.S. Senate are talking about immigration. See, New Yorker sat down with Republican candidate Jim Banks and Democratic candidate Valerie McRae about where they stand on this hot-button issue.
I think this is really simple. Secure the border, build the wall, end catch and release, go back to Trump's Remain in Mexico policy. And by the way, I'm also for President Trump's plans of mass deportation. Send those who came here illegally back to where they came from. Start with the criminals. Start with those who have committed violent crimes in the United States and deport them. Send them back, get them out of our country. And then also hold businesses accountable who hire illegal labor. And I think once you take away that incentive for people to come here illegally to begin with, I think they'll start going back home and our country will be better off for it. But at the same time, you got to fix the legal immigration policies and do away with the visa lottery system and replace it with a merit-based approach that takes Americans and our economy, the needs of our economy first before the needs of foreign countries. And that's how you fix it.
Your opponent, Mr. Banks, talked about immigration and border security. Can you talk to us a little bit about what your thoughts are, your policies, your plan?
Well, you know, we've been to the border. We've spent some time down there. We took classes down there. We got to know the citizens down there near that area. And one of the things that I was constantly reminded of is that people don't want to leave home. They want to stay home. So there's dire circumstances that make them trudge over that border. There are things that they're looking for, things that they need, and it's mostly safety. They need safety. They need to have a life that's not so dangerous. And so we need to accept that and make sure that we have laws in place that makes that transition smoother. And the Biden administration, they did a good job as far as across the table. They presented a bill that made sense, that was going to make sure that people had a faster process, make sure that there was security there. But of course, that bill was stopped. As far as for me, just like I said, I'm reminded of the issues that are causing people to migrate in the first place. One of the things we're going to have to look at as well, as with global warming, people will be migrating around the globe, and countries need to come together to figure out what we can do, how we can intervene, how many we can accept, in a humane way, so we're welcoming and we're ready for the migration that's coming around the country, around the globe.
Tonight was the final debate for the three candidates running for Indiana governor. Our Logan Gay caught up with them after it wrapped up and shares the key takeaways from that debate.
Thursday night, Democrat Jennifer McCormick, Libertarian Donald Rainwater, and Republican Mike Braun answered your questions about what they would do if given the opportunity to be Indiana's next governor. They cover topics including abortion access, legalizing marijuana, and affordable housing.
We're not going to fix it through government. We want to make sure that our own state gets out of the way, doesn't have regulations that are going to make it difficult, but entrepreneurs will figure that out.
One of the things that affects affordable housing is property taxes. And we need to do two things with property taxes. One, we need to make sure that they never go up. Two, we need to make sure that they have an end date. And we need to go ahead and refocus on actually rehabbing areas so that there's affordable housing for young families.
But it goes back to our common sense property tax plan, but it also goes back to fair lending and making sure that we're protecting our renters and being a good partner with our local level leaders.
As for gun rights and regulations, this is what they had to say about any changes they might support.
I own a gun. I am very pro Second Amendment. No one's coming for anybody's guns. It's about responsible ownership and responsible use.
abuse. It's also about making sure that we get the care that is needed when people are vulnerable and may need assistance in area of mental health.
Red flag laws have worked well here. They need to be actually improved, though, because that is the first step to keep guns out of the hands of the mentally ill, or folks that are having trouble with some issue and they resort to a gun. Keeping guns out of the hands of criminals.
I oppose the red flag laws because we're that close to our government telling us that because we go to this church or we're a member of that organization that we have a mental defect and therefore they need to take our guns.
The debate ended with how they plan to serve all Hoosiers, including the ones who may not vote for them. But ultimately, only one of them will get the opportunity to prove it. In Indianapolis, Logan Gay, 13 News.
Mike Braun was the only candidate who did not stay after tonight's debate to answer questions from the media, but we were told he made that decision before tonight's debate started.
You know, this is really interesting. This is something we followed for decades here. The presidential nominee who won in Veo County here in Western Indiana went on to win the country in the general election. However, these days, they're now thinking that history might be a thing of the past.
Okay, our State House reporter Emily Longnecker went to Veo County to talk to voters and experts about the county's bellwether future.
At Bev's restaurant in Terre Haute, Thursday's daily special, country fried steak. Today, though, it comes with a side of presidential politics and a discussion about the election.
It's going to be a really tight race, and I'm a little apprehensive about it, too.
70-year-old Mary Gaskin sits across a table from her longtime friend, Darla Washburn.
She's just like my little sister.
And while the two friends enjoy sharing a meal, they don't share the same views when it comes to who they'd like to see as the next president. Gaskin's is for Donald Trump.
Under his watch, I was doing really well financially.
Washburn is voting for Kamala Harris.
I think it would be exciting to have Kamala as our first woman president, but I won't throw a fit and I won't say there's cheaters if Donald Trump wins.
In the 2020 presidential election, Veo County, where both women live, went for Donald Trump. The country, though, elected Joe Biden. 2020's election was only the third time since 1888 that voters in Veo County picked the candidate who lost. In all the other presidential elections, Veo County's choice has been the same as the nation's, earning it the status of a bellwether for presidential elections.
A bellwether is like a predictor of something, and it just kind of predicted the elections for many years. The people of Veo County, how they would vote, sort of was a predictor of what the national election results would turn out to be.
Susie Dunning is the curator at the Veo County History Center in Terre Haute. Around every corner, there are echoes of Veo County's past.
One thing we often say here in Terre Haute, and this was written by our local poet Max Ehrman, is that Terre Haute is the world in miniature.
But that world has changed, and so has Veo County. Like other Midwestern Rust Belt towns, industries have left, and with them, jobs. Some have been replaced, and some haven't. The county seat, Terre Haute, boasts 4 colleges, attracting students from diverse communities. Even so, the population in Veo County remains predominantly white and looks less like the country as a whole now. Yeah. So what does that mean for Veo County's future as a bellwether in the upcoming election?
Yeah, it might be a thing of the past.
IU political scientists agree.
Saying something as a bellwether county is simply a way of saying that at that time, it reflects the demographics and the party preferences of the country as a whole. But times change and demographics change.
And 2024 will be a key moment where analysts will be looking closely to see whether we can still call these bellwethers or whether this is just no longer the case.
Whatever happens in November, whatever Veo County and the nation decides, Mary Gaskins and Darla Washburn say they'll still be friends.
Politics should not be the make or break of people.
And they'll still come to Bev's for lunch to enjoy a slice of homemade pie.
She's definitely part of my life, my circle.
The conversation shared over it, though, likely won't be about who's president, no matter who wins. In Veo County, Emily Longnecker, 13 News.
2 friends on both sides sitting down for a conversation.
Civilly.
Yes, yes, it can be done. Nearly 14,000 Veo County residents voted in the May primary.
Now, here's the breakdown. About 60% voted Republican, 41% voting Democrat. And so now, to make sure that you are educated, we're taking your questions to all three candidates who are running for the state's highest office.
Our Dustin Grove sat down with all three of them to cover these top issues and how they would handle them.
And those topics run the gamut, from the economy to property taxes to abortion and even marijuana. One person wrote in telling us they'd ask the next governor, when will Indiana legalize cannabis? It's very important for many reasons. There's also this. The most recent Ball State University Hoosier survey found 54% of adults here think marijuana should be legal for personal use. Another 32% think it should be legal for medicinal use. Only 10% think it should remain illegal. As governor, is that something that you are willing to talk about, to bring?
Definitely. I always talk about being the most accessible governor we've ever had, which means you listen, even on issues that may not be your top 5 or 10. But you're right, we're now surrounded by every state that has some form of legal use of marijuana. We need to address it in some fashion because it's now surrounding us. And if you remember, we drug our feet on gambling, one of the last states to do it. Now I think per capita, we generate like the 3rd most revenue from it. I think Hoosiers generally are leery about something changing, but inevitably want to do it in a practical way.
So would you support legalizing it?
I'm going to look at all the information. I'm going to tell you that's going to be an issue that's going to be out there for discussion.
It's time. I mean, we're missing out on a lot of revenue that, you know, Hoosiers are purchasing, but it's going to other states. I'm also hearing a lot from medical folks who have the need for it medically, whether it's, you know, behavioral or mental health issues, or whether it is, you know, like a terminal illness that they're wanting some pain relief. We learn from those other states who did it well. We learn from the states who didn't do it well, and then we take the best of the best. You know, we're behind in the state in that regard as far as just one more revenue source that we could take advantage of.
I believe that if we're going to have legal cigarettes and legal bourbon and vodka and wine and beer, that cannabis should be legal as well, and that these are adult decisions that adults should be allowed to make. I think it is astronomically hypocritical for people who consume alcoholic beverages to turn around and say, well, I think that cannabis is dangerous.
Tonight, legal experts are weighing in on comments recently made by Indiana's Republican candidate for lieutenant governor.
Micah Beckworth recently told a gathering, if elected, he will fire state workers working with his office who are using pronouns in their email signatures. In fact, there's video of him saying that now posted on YouTube.
Emily Longnecker explains who posted it and what Senator Mike Braun had to say about his running mate's statements. Emily.
Well, Ann and Felicia, the video was shot by a reporter with the Bloomingtonian, an online local news publication that covers news in Bloomington, Monroe County area. The reporter who took the video posted it on YouTube and explained that he recorded it when Beckwith spoke at a recent Monroe County Republican dinner.
13 News watched that video on YouTube. We can't show it to you because we don't own the rights to it. But here are some of Beckwith's comments after someone in the audience asked him if there was a deep state in government. Beckwith said, quote, there is a deep state within the Indiana government, and we do have a plan to address it. Beckwith said he believed those in the deep state were, quote, bureaucrats that are rooted deep in the system, that have their own personal agendas that are playing out through the mechanisms of government. Beckwith also told the crowd he would do his part to get rid of the deep state, and the easiest way to spot someone with, quote, far-left value systems is through their emails, saying, quote, if I get an email from anyone in my office or in agencies that I oversee as lieutenant governor, and their signature has their email, their pronouns on it, they're going to be gone, right? That's really easy. We're not going to play that. Beckwith added he'd have to go through human resources and acknowledge that it's not easy to fire someone, telling the crowd, quote, we can certainly relegate them to a place that they will have no influence. Retired Professor Jennifer Droback, who specializes in and taught discrimination law at Indiana University, called Beckwith's statements discriminatory. She cited federal law dealing with protected classifications. Sex is one of them, and the U.S. Constitution's Equal Protection Clause.
In this case, it would be sex, because we have identified pronouns or gendered pronouns as indicating an affiliation on the basis of sex. And so that is clearly a protected classification, as is religion, as is ethnicity or national origin or race. So these characteristics are those that we have said you should not be penalized for.
Drobeck says Beckwith doesn't even have to follow through with his threats to fire or demote employees who use pronouns. She says his words will create a chilling effect.
He's already said he's going to get rid of people who have identified pronouns. And that indicates a particular orientation or sexual identity or sex-based identity. And that's illegal. You can't do that.
13 News reached out to the Beckwith campaign for further clarification on his recent comments. The campaign issued the following statement. Quote, "It is disappointing that this comment was taken out of context. Micah Beckwith wants to stop unelected bureaucrats from undermining the agenda of elected officials. He will be basing decisions on job performance." 13 News reached out to Beckwith's running mate, Senator Mike Braun. He issued a statement saying, quote, "My administration will hire and fire employees based solely on their merit and commitment to delivering efficient, effective state government to make life better and more affordable for Hoosiers. Period."
He is making a correct statement and is taking the right path. That is the lawful path. And his lieutenant governor running mate is off the rails legally.
Now, we also asked the state's personnel department if Indiana has a policy on the books that deals with pronouns being used by state employees. They told us they were getting us answers. Ann, Felicia?
This election season is like no other. Certainly a lot of political ads, but there's something else you need to look out for. Fake and manipulated videos, pictures, and sound. They are everywhere trying to influence your vote. Just this week here in Indiana, questions surrounding this ad for gubernatorial candidate Mike Braun. His campaign altered a picture of a rally for Jennifer McCormick, changing the signs that people were holding. Altered images and totally made up pictures. Our senior investigative reporter Bob Siegel is in studio tonight, and you got an inside look at how they're made.
I did. So eye-opening, Scott. You know, we want everyone to be an informed voter. So 13 Investigates is going to walk you through the world of deepfakes so you know what to look for and ultimately how to tell what's real. And we want you to know right up front, some of the images you're about to see are fake. When you see a picture of Donald Trump posing with supporters, a photo taken at a Kamala Harris rally, or a video of the president in the Oval Office.
My fellow Americans, I want to take a moment to address some of the hateful shit you've been talking about me.
How do you know if it's real? All of these images are deepfakes, fake pictures and video created by computers using AI or artificial intelligence. And images like these are all over social media, trying to influence what you think and how you vote in the upcoming election.
I'm worried. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
Ed Delp runs the Video and Image Processing Lab at Purdue, where powerful computers are helping researchers detect what online images are authentic and which are created by technology. But most of us don't have these tools. And with a huge increase in political deepfakes, this professor says that leaves us vulnerable.
The average person may be in a position where they cannot believe anything that they see online or hear online and even read online, because it may all be synthetically generated.
And it's time that we get ahead of that before it gets out of control.
Spencer Deary is a state senator. He and other state lawmakers introduced 6 separate bills this year to address political deepfakes after seeing more and more of them pop up online.
My initial reaction, some of them is like, oh, that's nothing to worry about yet. But when I start to think about where it's going and I think about how technologies progress and how quickly they progress, then I get scared, and I think it should scare us.
The scariest part for some lawmakers really is that rapid advancement in AI technology. They worry the technology is now getting so good it will become nearly impossible for voters to tell which video is fake and which is real. This is real. Me. That is not. The things you just heard, I didn't say any of that. This version of Bob is computer generated by students at Purdue using open source tools that anyone can get their hands on. And if that can be done to me, just think what someone could do to you or to the political candidate that you might be interested in. Many of the deepfakes we see are meant for fun or political parody, like candidates dancing in the street or engaging in silly real-time debates where users get to decide what they're saying.
Your wall is about as effective as using wet paper towels to stop a hurricane.
Get ready for a mouth-watering feast of funnies with Twimpy Wumpy leading the way.
But we've already seen other deepfakes intended to influence voter perception, behavior, and action.
It's important that you save your vote.
This robocall went out to New Hampshire voters in January, telling them not to vote in the state primary.
Your vote makes a difference in November, not this Tuesday.
It sounds just like the president, but it's a clone of his voice generated by computer. Other deepfakes target former President Trump, like this campaign ad that cloned his voice to make it sound like he's attacking the governor of Iowa.
Now she wants to remain neutral. I don't invite her to events.
Cloning someone's image and voice to create a deepfake is both cheap and easy. You could really have me saying almost anything?
Yep. And people have done that.
Amit Yadav and Kritika Bhagtani are the Purdue graduate students who created the deepfake video of me, cloning my voice using other videos of mine they found online.
It takes less than a minute or a few seconds to get the voice clone ready. This can be done for anybody.
How many political deepfake videos and images are out there?
A lot we're sourcing from social media.
Well, we don't know for sure, but Purdue researchers Daniel and Kaylin Schiff have created a database to track hundreds of recent deepfakes, including images and videos that show the presidential candidates in situations that didn't happen or saying things they did not say.
But it turns out Trump was right.
Many people believe these images and videos are real because they want to believe that.
If they have an idea of something they believe, then anything they see that confirms it, they'll believe it, whether it's real or not.
Generally, people have about a 50-50 ability to distinguish real from fake content, so they will believe deepfakes very often.
In my case, it's like generating fake news.
Justin Brown is a video editor in California who's made a real splash by creatively editing video.
Take a look at this. These are the tests. It leveled out and but you have to look at this. This is, excuse me.
And using AI to poke fun at politicians and world leaders.
We win, they lose.
You're putting words in someone else's mouth, making them say things that they didn't actually say.
Yeah.
And that's okay from your perspective?
I have no qualms about like putting words in their mouths to strip them of some of that power and give a little bit back to us.
Justin's videos have gotten millions of views. He says they're intended not just to undermine politicians, but also to attack artificial intelligence, the very technology he's using to make the videos.
I hate this thing. I'm always trying to stir up trouble with AI and get a lot of attention on the negative aspects of AI, because I think it's a bigger conversation that we need to have that we're not having on a big enough scale, that the negative impacts of AI are not around the corner, they're already here, and they're only going to get worse.
Deepfakes are causing us to question what we're seeing with our own eyes, according to journalism professor Al Tompkins, who's been studying deepfakes for years.
To me, the greater threat is not the fake photos. It is that you're not going to believe the real photos.
That's already happening in this election. Claims that real images like this one at a political rally are AI-generated deepfakes, when in fact, they're not. So what can you do to separate the real stuff from the fake? Well, perhaps most important, just take a deep breath.
Most disinformation has one thing in common, and that is it raises your emotion. Because when your emotions get high, your reasoning goes down. You stop thinking. When you feel your blood pressure going up, stop. Don't share, don't react, don't comment, don't do anything. Just stop and say, let me just take a minute and see if this is real.
Pausing and asking questions is just the first step to spot a deepfake. Then it's time to zoom in and look at the details. For example, this photo of former President Trump praying in a church, if you look closely, he has 6 fingers on his right hand. And this photo, alleging low energy at a Kamala Harris rally, the t-shirts people are wearing, they're all gibberish. Both are telltale signs that these are AI-generated deepfakes. We have lots of other tips to help you sort out what's real and what's fake, and it's all posted right now at WTHR.com.
Bob, how did it make you feel when you saw a deepfake video of you saying things you never ever said?
Yeah, that was really strange. And it really makes you think about what video we're posting of ourselves online and what images we're posting online that could make other people, make it easier for them to create a deepfake of us.
Really interesting story. Bob Siegel with 13 Investigates.